And now it's a great honor to bring to the program an actor who has charmed our hearts and won them over and over again as Dr. Mark Greene on NBC's ER, a man who will always set the tone. Multi-Golden Globe and Screen Actors Guild Award winner, Anthony Edwards. Anthony, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
It's really a true honor to have you here on the program.
My pleasure.
Well, I know you're a busy guy, so I guess let's dive in if that's all right with you.
Sure, dive away.
Now, how did you get your start in the entertainment industry and the theater business?
Well, actually, I grew up in Santa Barbara, which is a town just about an hour and a half north of Los Angeles, and it was a town that was like being in, I don't know, somewhere in the Midwest that was into basketball. We just happened to be into theater, so there was tons of theater to be involved with when I was young. There was several different kids programs and lots of theater in the schools, and I kind of equated as just playing Little League baseball and just keep playing it. So I started when I was about 11 or 12 and doing theater and doing musicals all through high school. And then when I was 16, I got my driver's license and started driving to Los Angeles to audition for television and film. So I was just kind of a dog with a bone, and more than anything was persistent, and then paid for my first 2 years at USC in the drama program there by doing commercials and doing television work, and then eventually was working too much to finish school and just kind of kept it up from there.
Well, before ER, you had appeared in many, many prominent movies and television series, Northern Exposure and Top Gun as Goose with Tom Cruise, but ER came along in 1994, and wasn't it John Wells who approached you to be a part of the series?
He did. I mean, it was actually a time when I was, no longer as an actor getting offered kind of very interesting movies or great roles, and I was thinking much more about directing, and that's really what I was focusing on. And I had a little kids movie that I was going to direct, and so when the script came to me, I was like, oh, this is nice and a great script, but I'm starting to direct in 4 weeks, so I wouldn't be able to do the pilot. And luckily my wife and my manager kind of pulled me aside, was like, no, this is, Steven Spielberg, Mike Crichton. You should maybe push your directing off for a second and consider this. And so, I did, and happily, of course. But it was the funny thing about it is that as with great kind of the biggest things in your life, they happen to you when you're not looking directly at them, or
sure,
directly for them. So it was a great surprise.
So you are the very first actor to appear in the pilot episode of ER. And so I was wondering, could you please tell us what you remember about the shooting of the pilot?
The pilot was pretty insane. I just remember so much confusion because what became really second nature to us after years of doing the show, I remember how alien it all felt in the beginning. Every instrument, kind of everything about what trauma doctors have to deal with was really like being on the moon. So every day of the pilot was this huge learning curve of trying to figure out, how to do the kind of what we called the ballet of ER, which was all the physical movement, which was all very technical, combined with the fact that we had this whole other language to learn, which was all the medicine, because the show made a real point of never compromising and trying to talk to the audience and make it, palatable for them. They really wanted the doctors to speak and act the way they actually do. So I just remember being really never knowing where I was going, and coming out of a scene and never knowing if I was going to go left or right out the door, and so it was very intense, that's for sure.
So when did you and the rest of the cast realize that there was really something special about ER?
Well, we had a hint of it in that we were genuinely enthusiastic about the script. I mean, the script really did stick out because it was so different than most television scripts at that time. It was so very realistic. But the sense that we got that it was going to be much bigger than we could have imagined was, for me, it happened when they have a thing called the upfronts, which is when the networks announce their season.
Okay.
And we had made the pilot in March, and then it was May or June when they have the upfronts here in New York. So we'd made this pilot that we all kind of fought struggled our way through. Then we came to New York for the presentation. So that we're there as a cast, and then they show about 20 minutes of the show. And we were in a theater in New York. We saw about 20 minutes of the show cut together. with music and the whole deal. And that's when we all kind of looked at each other and went, holy moly, this is awesome. It was so much better than we could have imagined.
You got a standing ovation that night in the theater, didn't you?
I'm not sure. I don't remember that particularly. I just remember being really excited. And then that summer, we started work, and then by the fall we premiered, that's when it was on. And at that point, NBC had really gotten behind it, and they were promoting the heck out of it. So we were, we knew we had the total support of the network. So it was a very exciting time, that's for sure.
I was wondering if you could please tell us, for those who don't know, for those who didn't watch the show way back, a little bit about your character, Dr. Mark Greene, because pretty much everything in the ER through the first 8 seasons when you were on the show revolved around him.
Well, there was always great stories from all the different actors on the show. I think Mark Greene kind of played the role of, he was a way into the world because he was a guy who loved his job. So he was a good doctor because he loved being a doctor. And then on the flip side, the way people related to him, I used to joke, is the fact that they knew that their life could never be as bad as his. That Mark's personal life was always full of kind of crazy,
True.
Things that would happen to him, or his, daughter getting in trouble, or his inability to have, he divorced his wife, and then his inability to have good relationships with women,
and then he got attacked,
foibles, and get attacked, and the pressures of all of it. That I think that's why people liked him, because they knew that. I think they found a character that they could root for, because underneath it all, they knew he really tried to be the best doctor possible, and that's ultimately what you want. I always say, it's like when you get on an airplane, you want the guy who goes up to the front to fly the plane. You want him to really love flying, And I think that's the way people feel about doctors. You want your doctor to really love medicine.
It's true. He really had a passion for medicine, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a character who was doing what he should be doing. That was the job that he should be doing. And it's inspiring when you meet people like that, because it makes you think that things are possible for yourself. If you're having a frustration in your life about certain things, when you meet people, that's why I love athletes, being around athletes, is, they excel at something because they're so committed to it. And I don't know if you've read or talked about Malcolm Gladwell's book, his latest one, which is called Outliers.
Oh, no, I haven't.
It's a great book to pick up, because what he talks about is exceptional people. And as much as we want to say, oh, it's luck, or oh, it's talent, or oh, something, what he found in common of people that really succeed is that they probably put in about 10,000 hours worth of work into it. That even though Bill Gates was at the right place at the right time when computers were happening, he also spent 10,000 hours worth of working on and developing, really as a student, or as an athlete when they put in that training, or as a violinist who puts in that practice, or, and I think it makes it more accessible than it being like, oh, it's a lottery and only the talented ones win.
And I think it was great that even though they showed Dr. Greene as he was really the moral center of the show. He was the one doctor that everyone turned to for answers, but they showed that he was not always right, and particularly in one of the great episodes of Season 1, Love's Labor Lost.
Yeah, he made mistakes, and that's what, medicine is the practice, and it's a the reason you meet, older doctors that are still working, it's because they know they have more to learn, and it is a practice. It's an art form that needs to be worked, and within that there are mistakes that are made.
And by the way, that was a great performance by you in that episode.
Well, thank you.
As in all the episodes.
Well, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. And